Gosh, and guy. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Good night. So long. Oops. Everybody's talking about it. Can't hear a word they're saying. Guys are all screaming at each other. Blah, blah, blah. Right? Like all the scholastic friends of mine who call me up. Hey, your votes are. It's like, okay, whatever. And, Let's put these little glasses on. Oh, there's AI. Good morning, AI. How you doing? And I want to thank everybody who's put something in my PayPal. The 4 of you who have done it since a week before Thanksgiving, and someone put something in 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'm pretty sure PayPal still works. So come on, put something in the old PayPal. And that's the dudewake42 at Gmail. Dudewake42 at Gmail. Dudewake42 at Gmail. Oh, there's just so many things going on, same as it ever was. And no one is even talking about Mr. Globaloni, except, people like Catherine Austin Fitz and dark journalism and a few others, which is, that's who talks about it. What can I say? Do 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 do. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, there we go. And they're using that as their major tool to manipulate the politics of Ukraine, because Ukraine it has the major reason why this war is going on in Ukraine is, when it comes to Ukraine and the assets, is that of any country in the world other than the United States, Canada, Ukraine is the breadbasket of the world, right? We are number one, Canada's number two, Ukraine is number three, and number one in Europe.
And then Russia comes in behind that, right?
Well, no, then Russia's. What Russia has is the component parts of agriculture that, in a lot of ways, like fertilizers, right? And rare earth elements that you need for farming, and oil for the tractors, and natural gas for making nitrates, right? So they have, specifically in Europe, the number one. And they have in manufacturing, that is one of their major, if not the major manufacturing, because they really aren't the breadbasket. They don't have good land to grow. They have one little sliver in the middle, and they can only do 1.5 crops, meaning the weather it's not a long enough growing season in Russia. So, but Ukraine does. Ukraine, because it's just far enough south, and they're right on the Black Sea, which brings warmer from the Mediterranean. So they are the breadbasket of Europe, and grains to Africa, right? And Russia is a major producer of fertilizer and I go on and on and on. And I do. And farm. Enough of that. I go on and on and on. It's what I do. I'm a griot. I tell a story. I impart information, and most people don't want that. They're just waiting for that moment that they can start talking, right? And that's why no one listens, right? And so, and we have these sides. Oh, Ukraine's gonna, Putin can't win. Blah blah blah. Ukraine can't win. Blah blah blah. And in essence, Russia fights a war by grinding people down. I mean, that's what they did with the Nazis. That's what they did with Napoleon, and they lost millions of people, and they totally devastated their economy and their environment. But hey, is that winning? At the end of World War II, everything destroyed, their political system even worse than it was, and basically, just because they were able to take the Baltic states, Poland and all, didn't mean they were protected, right? Look what's happening now. And the thing is, this war isn't about Ukraine, because at the end of the war, no matter what they sign on a piece of paper is going to be useless. If Russia is not totally out of Ukraine, if Ukraine does not have the facility to withstand another attack, I mean, if Crimea is still in Russians' hand, that's it, because then they'll control the Black Sea, they'll control Ukraine's ability to ship their goods, and there'll be another war. I mean, that's why we had World War II, because we put Germany in the same situation, and look what happened. So, no matter what, and it could happen because Zelensky is just a stand-up comedian who does whatever he's told, right? I mean, he's no, you know, global logician, amazing, experienced politician. He's an actor, and he does pretty good, and he's not a dummy. So, but he was ready to make a deal with Russia the first week, as long as they could keep Ukraine. And then Boris Johnson went over there and said, "Don't, pull the string." Right? And then the United States and England gave them a ton of equipment to because they trained about 70,000 Ukrainian soldiers to do exactly what is going on or what happened. To draw Russia in and then hit them, because Russia's used to blowing up large portions of stuff and people, right? And or laying siege. Mariupol is their cup and tea. That's how they do it, right? So if they look what's left of Mariupol, zip, right? So what's good is Russia going in. The only way that they can esoteric, hey Al Leprechaun, yes, Al Leprechaun. Yep, that's me. Gosh me golly. I wish I had a pot of gold back there. But anyway, I live like a millionaire, $400. Yeah. And what's going on in Ukraine is going on in America. The dynamic. We all should. February passed, and we had Black, Whoopee month for February. They picked the shortest month they could. 28 days rather than the other 30, 31, however many days are in a month. And um, and we heard about Martin Luther King, but we only, he goes from being, he grew up in a well-to-do black family whose father had a well-to-do Black Baptist church, and he was connected socially, politically, economically. Went to school, did well, and right at that sweet point, he got into racial. He read Gandhi's work, and he didn't realize that Gandhi got his work from the American women's movement. At Seneca Falls. And the ERA was started 100 years ago in Seneca Falls, and that hasn't even gotten. And so those girls, you should protocol and their mission statement, right, of the ERA written 100 years ago. And they said, listen, we can't get guns to fight white men. Everybody else tried that, didn't work. But we can do step, and they had a step by step by step by step, because back when they started, they didn't have, they had less rights, even if they were from, married to a white guy, was white as white, well educated, came from a well-to-do family, were all well educated and political. They had zero rights. They were property just like black people. You know, and the working class. Just like So the only people who basically had any rights were people like Christopher Columbus. Now, those guys don't like the woke thing. That's like really ridiculous. Who's the clown governor in? Didn't the clown governor of Florida work at Disney? I know he got married at Disney. I know he was dressed as Goofy when he got married, and he went off to a special place. Where FUCK happens, in the Disney world, in a black and white room, and he's going after Disney. And it's so funny because Disney. One of the reasons why Disney was a special entity on itself is that there were no facilities. There were no water, sewage, septic, highways, airport, you know, hospitals, shopping centers, all the rest. And Disney put that all in. And so now that the state has passed this law where Disney has to be just like SeaWorld, but it isn't. They employ some umpteen million people. SeaWorld has maybe 1,100 people working there. So, but what happens is that all of that infrastructure system, all the roads, all the septic, all the water, all the hospitals, the ambulances, the police, the fire departments have to basically be run by the state. And that's close to $2 billion a year. And Disney is going, no problem, because they've already investment and they already pay the taxes that they pay. They're not going to pay any more taxes, right? Right. But they're going to get this big expense taken away from them. And Goofy, Governor Goofy of Florida is going to have to pay, and his people are going to pay that. All those retiree white people who, we fought over this, just don't say gay. Oh, I said gay. Oh, don't I said it again. Oh, I said it again. And that's what's going on in Ukraine. Ow. So if you and you go look, there's a lot of stuff about Martin Luther King, right? Because his life stops on the steps of "I had a dream when little white babies and little black babies can say hi to each other and not and they be so what's your worth, and that's when he's saying. But then after that, he gets Nobel Prize. He goes on a few things and really tastes the blood, that is his blood. And he's being nonviolent, just like all those people in the South Bronx last year during the Floyd period. Um, and all the Floyd things were going on across the country, and people, oh, that's terrible. I want to get rid of cops. So look, what these people are throwing bricks at windows and trying. That was being started by infiltrators, provocateurs, where somebody just happened to leave like 20 tons worth of bricks on pallets along the side of the road where the nonviolent thing was going to go. And these guys in black outfits with things covering their face and looking paramilitary, where had them incendiary devices in their backpacks and picked up the bricks and started starting and throwing it to police. And then the police started shooting the rubber bullets and tear gas. You don't understand. It's not something like your pepper spray you get at the Lowe's. Tear gas is under a military. It is a chemical weapon. It is like the IEC says in war you can't use tear gas. It's a military weapon, and we're using it on the streets. Engine orange. Yep, it's crazy to me. Yep. So all of this stuff's going on. People on every little nook and cranny of social media and the legacy media. It's just going on and on and on and on and on and on. And please give me, please, Jesus. You know, and talking about Jesus, everybody wants to sell Jesus. You know, Jesus towel cloths, Jesus butter plates. Everybody wants to. Everybody's talking about it. Can't hear a word they're saying. We're going to unite. No kidding. Under love's co-creation, because that's what you can put in your heart. You can put love in your heart and forgiveness in your mind. And when you do that, it's relatively easy to get along. Right? So here's this guy. He's interesting.
How the war is going to end. But there are a couple of problems in this case which all say loud and clear that this war will go on for a long time. One, no deal is credible. that the Russians can offer. And the irony of this case is that any deal that leaves Russia in some control of some territory in Ukraine will only be accepted by Ukraine if Ukraine gets guarantees for its future security. And the only group of countries that can do that is NATO, of course. That's the very reason why Putin supposedly went to war for Ukraine being supported or joining NATO. So that's one reason. Putin cannot credibly promise to stick
no one's talking
by
about
any,
Putin's actually
demands or
reading
any
a script
settlement he makes now. He didn't do it in 2014. He won't do it now.
Russia,
Second,
China, EU,
there is the
United
problem,
States.
and there's a bit of a debate over this, whether Putin can actually domestically survive a loss in the war. Because if he can't, then he can anticipate that if he loses, he will be punished for his poor performance. He will be jailed, exiled, or most likely
thing is to be Jesus
fall
when
from
you're
a window
not.
in the third story of some building
Jesus
in the
all the
Kremlin.
time. When Jesus
He
was
will
up
get
on the
killed.
cross,
I assume that
I'm
is most
a
likely.
student.
Now he can anticipate
wouldn't
this,
quite
as
call
leaders
it a
have done.
scholar, but
throughout
student of
history.
the Bible, Old
Most
and New
prominent
Testament. I learned
example
how
is
to
the
read
First
the Old
World
Testament
War. He can anticipate that if he signs a
rabbi
losing
school,
peace
and
or
read it in. Not only
an
did I read it in
agreement that is not
Hebrew, I
worth
read
the
it in
cost
Greek.
that
And the Greek
the
one was
Russians
the good.
have suffered, that he will be removed from office and subsequently
And
killed.
so,
So he's not going to sign any agreement.
and you know,
Fight and what we call
God
a
wasn't
gamble
some
for
rapper
resurrection.
guy. No.
He has nothing to lose.
You know, the guys
he
who got
cannot
turned
die
into
more
salt,
than once.
God didn't do
Professor
it. People did it
Homans,
by their
I mean,
actions.
it's a
All through the Old
daunting
Testament,
prospect
it's the
to
actions of
think
the
that this
folk
war will
who-
drag on,
and God
specifically,
doesn't
of
punish
course,
people.
for
People punish
Ukrainians who
themselves.
are suffering so dearly. But what does this mean from a global perspective, in a few words? What are the
In a few
chances
words.
that this
What can you
war
say in a
could
few words about
spread
the global
beyond
perspective?
Ukraine in the next couple of months or years?
Well, this ties into the point I raised earlier in a nice way, right? I mean, if Putin thinks that he cannot get what he needs, he may go for Moldova. To say, like, okay, not only did we liberate the 4 provinces of Ukraine, we also liberated the Russian population in Moldova and tried to sell that as a victory back home. He might try to do that.
But will be.
There is one toxin you must absolutely never eat if you want to prevent vision loss. Do you know what that toxin is?
I think it's life in the material world. Because life in the material world makes you go blind to all the things that are right in front of you, but you still can see that YouTube stream, right? Well, yeah, exactly. And you know, see, blinded by the light. Yep, the light of the YouTube. So, come on, kids. Let's breathe in deep. Conscious intent I am, conscious intent I am, conscious intent I am, conscious intent I am. Oh, all the way out. Oh, then all the way in. Conscious intent I am, conscious intent I am, conscious intent I am, conscious intent I am. Oh. Conscious intent I am, conscious intent I am, conscious intent I am, conscious intent I am. Oh, what has that done to us? It has enabled the prana to go, the prana of love's co-creation, into our lungs. Our heart pumps the blood. It gets purified in the prana, bringing all of the nutrients that animate us. Otherwise, we're just a bag of water or some trace elements in us, right? Takes that in, it goes all through every little cell and vibrates every cell with prana, right? That's why I'm alive. You know, I just had the full Monty look at, right? And it was so bizarre because twice in there, they wanted to like, oh no, we have to do open heart surgery. And I said, no, do this test, this test, this test. And my doctor, who I was kumbaya with, he just quit. He just couldn't take it anymore. He just left the building, right? I mean, he literally did that. Just one day, he said, that's it. Because he started this nonprofit for people like me who had no money but still deserve health care. And he got, you know, backing by the insurance so they'd look good. And he got backing by the state so they'd look good, but like pennies, right? So he was the only doctor. He had 5 or 6 nurse practitioners. He had about 10 nurses, but he was the only doctor. Period. Right? And then I went away. I was on the bop, and I ate too much stuff that I went off the wagon on my diet. So it kind of, it's like, your wheels were like this, like my car. It was like my car represents me. When my car is doing pretty good, I'm doing pretty good. Anyway, so I got back. I got the deep green back online. I then got a hold of my doctor. He said, "Go get this test." You know, I can't just walk into a hospital and say, "Hey, I need a CAT scan." It's like a drug; you have to be prescribed. So he did. I went. I signed in. I did all the paperwork. They hit their own slash. So when they stuck the little bracelet on me that has the uh, universal product code, when they scanned the machine, I was ready to go into, we're taking you to the ICU to prepare you to have open heart surgery. What? I said, that's what the little SKU says on your. I said, no, no, no. I was here to get a ultrasound of my carotids and the main vein that goes from here down to your pubic symphysis. And they said, oh no, open. I said, see, it says right here. And person who's running the equipment said, but the notes over here, the prescription is from the doctor and it says just the test. And they say, shut up. And so I said, oh, that's the way you're going to be? Fine. Here, you want me to have open heart surgery, but you put me into this bed and you fed me lunch. What kind of moron are you? Hmm? And so that person ran away and came back with a doctor. No, it's okay. I said every time I even get a toenail, they say don't don't eat anything. You might have to get anesthetized, and you're going to give me fentanyl to get my chest cracked. I'd be vomiting. I'd be dead. No, not doing it. So unless you give me these tests that technician has found as the thing I'm here for, and you don't want to do it because my insurance, because I'm so poor, you'll make 300 grand from that, and I'll be dead, and that, you'll be happy with that. So no, I'm not going to do it. But I am staying in this bed. I heard that dinner is going to be turkey. Actually, your kitchen's pretty good. You got big screen TV. I'm staying, and internet. My computer works here. I'm staying. I'm not going nowhere. Oh, we're going to go get the police. I said, fine, you get the police, and I'll tell them what you just did, and then I'll tell them that you sexually harassed me. Put your hands where they shouldn't. You, and you. Head doctor, head bureaucrat, head authoritarian nurse. You all, and they they ran away, right? And then this other person came and looked at what the technician had found, said, okay, just give them the test. So they did and let me go. I mean, that's healthcare in America, kids, which is, just a carbon copy of what's going on in America on every social aspect. And Malcolm X said, we need freedom by any action necessary, right? And that scared the shit. Whereas Martin Luther King said, "Oh, babies," and so Martin Luther King was a great man. Did great things because after that speech, for another 6 years or so, he put on the bib overalls and he started the Poor People's Campaign. And he went to all the nasty neighborhoods in America, the rural ones, the suburban ones, and the urban ones. And he lived there. He didn't just make a visit; he lived there, right? And he organized those people, just like Malcolm X was doing, right? And when Malcolm was just, you should read the one thing you can get is the autobiography of Malcolm X by Alex Haley, and you should see what's his name's movie of it. Spike Lee. All his movies are quite interesting and quite right on. So, and that's the beauty of what's happening right now. That's why I do this YouTube channel, because I started, this May it'll be 4 years or maybe even 5 years. I don't know. I'll have to see what YouTube says. And because I've done over 2,000 shows, and it for the last year. It says I have 1,200 shows up, right? But they're all there. Meaning I've gone and looked at them all, and they're all there. So I mean, there's stuff like that, and like how many people are watching 2 and 1 thumbs up? Come on, more thumbs up. I think 6 or more. So Canada's much better, and 2 certain way, because gang. NAFTA made Canada, the United States, and Mexico one country. No one knows that. And then when good old Donnie Trump came in and rejiggered um, basically NAFTA, they called it the Great American Masturbatory Come Along. Basically, it doubled down on the authoritarianness. So today, since 9/11, we've had the Patriot Act, give or take. And we don't have a constitution. We're still under martial law. And when Donnie did that, he did the same thing to Mexico and to Canada. And that's why little Lord Fauntleroy did all that crazy shit when the truck drivers went across. And those guys, the police said these are the nicest people you've ever met. They haven't blocked any roads. They haven't really, been a threat or done anything nasty. And we agree with them, right? And they've taken their trucks and they have basically put them in places where they're not. But what they have done is taken a few of their trucks and parked in places where they can park right near where politicians live, and they let their diesels run 24/7, and they're just trying to make a point, right? But they haven't done anything illegal, and that's when little Lord Fauntleroy basically declared martial law because he could, because Donnie, him, and the Mexican guy uh, turned those 3 countries into, Pacifica, right? And basically, that's why the Mexican guy, he is rewriting all the civil rights and uh, laws, especially the ones about the constitutional right of voting. Right? There's this organization that basically runs voting. Everybody other than the United States, there's a entity that runs the voting. So it's basically in every part of the country, everyone who wants to vote can. Right? And it's open, and the amount of money spent on advertising is controlled by that. And there are a lot of other things that keeps everybody on. Because in Mexico, they had a multi-party system, but there was only one party that won for 30 years, right? That was totally in control. And so that's what we are watching: oligarchy and authoritarianism become the reign, right? And all of these things, the war in Ukraine, and the thing that's going to take down Russia and China is when they become buddies, when they really become like this Warsaw Pact of China and Russia. That's the kiss of death to both of them, because both of those political systems are totally incompetent. I mean, China was about one reason why Nixon and Kissinger went to China and why Mao saw them. He was dying. He was like, they had to wait a few days until, oh, is he dead? No, he's not. Okay, we can come out and they can take pictures of him shaking hands. China was like North Korea is today, a country of worshiping the leader, right? And the guy, little rocket man, he is basically not a bad politician, because what's very interesting, he has, like spent a good deal of money on missiles from Syria slash Iran slash other people, and but he hasn't put a nuclear weapon on top of a missile, right? He has the missiles, right? But they're like 1960s, 70s missiles, and he's just got a few, right? And he lobs them over Japan. And but I mean, he sends us suckers up, 300-400 miles. He could put a satellite up. He should do that. That would be fun. And then he detonates atomic bombs in the ground, but he hasn't done one in more than a year, right? So he's detonated, I think, 5 or 6, right? So he probably doesn't have any more than 50 devices that he can detonate, but he has not shown the technical capability of putting one of those things on top of a missile. it's one thing to have a device you can blow up under the ground, right, or on top of a stand, right? And if he blew one in his own country on top of a stand, he would probably, nuke most of his people. He's already starving them, and that would only be whoops. So, and if he did it, everyone around would get very upset. So, and mostly China, who pays all his bills. So they keep Korea right where it is, and he's a smart guy because he is playing everybody between the middle. He's very much like Yugoslavia was with Tito, and we, you know, our narrative. He's a crazy man. We have to be ready to attack him at any. And you have to realize that South Korea was a military dictatorship up until 1980 something or 90 something. So, and they still got a lot of that in them, even though everyone's going for materialism, right? And I'm a perfect poster boy of where that gets you, right? In 2006, I guess it was, I got this real interesting opportunity to be a consultant for the desperate corporate lawyers. And I jumped in, and between '06 and 2014, I was, 460 pounds. Now I'm 210. Now I'm 6 foot 210. I'm kind of right where I could, and I'm still losing a pound. I'm not gaining pounds. I'm like, every time maybe every 3 months, well, really, every 3 weeks, they take my blood pressure, my oxygen, and my weight and my temperature, right? And so that's a good benchmark of all the things that are wrong with me. So, I'm keeping my blood pressure around 112 over 68, and my blood oxygen is like 99, and my temperature is 98.6, and my weight right now, last time I got it weighed, last week, 210, right? And before that, it was 210 plus half a pound, right? So as long as I keep going down by little bits, it's fine, right? And if I go up a pound or two, that's as long as I stay between 210 and 220, I'm fine, right? And even if I went to 230, still okay. A lot better than 460, right? So um, I was the poster boy of what hedonism will do to you. Now, people, aren't you disappointed with yourself? Aren't you, don't you regret doing it? Not really. Mm-mm. All those amazing meals, all those lap dances, all that stuff that the crazy corporate guys do. Hey, I was right there having a good time, and I was like the poster boy, you know. And what was truly amazing, those guys, when I be with them, this one guy said, "You can't always look like a homeless guy." I know you use that as your little shtick when you're being the negotiator to freak rich people out. A homeless guy being given the authority to tell rich people what to do. Boy, that was fun. That was fun. And so this one guy bought me a really, really nice suit with the bag, the whole thing, and tailored. Like they took all the measurements. So when I went out with that suit on, man, even though I weighed 460, I looked like Perry Mason, you know. And so Perry Mason, before he really got big, he was kind of, as they would say, big boned, but you know, and I looked good in that, and the girls were, woo, especially the female. I was always, when I did a project, I would have at least two or three assistants, and the smartest people in all these law offices were the women, right? And they would become, they'd be going through law school. Part of their gig was these guys were sending them to law school, and they were getting the 411 of that, and they would be doing all the work and still not um, a lawyer. And all those boy lawyers that got out of Yale, they start at 170. These girls were getting about 60 plus education and experience and a wardrobe, right? But when we would go out, the basic thing about going out with those guys is, I would do my work up until about 4 o'clock. We would, or 2 o'clock, right? Before I went into negotiation phase, when I was doing the research stage, I get there at 7. When the girls would get there, we would work what it is. I'd say, look at this, look at that. Around 2, I go to lunch with the guys, right? And then we go straight into dinner and the executive clubs, right? And that was fine. About 8:30, 9 o'clock, I would see you boys. I'm going to go back to the office, see how the girls are done. I would have this little credit card, debit card, that they would give me for my, what do they call it? The expenses that you have when you're working for them. There's a term for that. It'll pop into my head. But anyway, I could pretty much use that card for anything, right? Up to thousands of dollars. So I would show up at the office with the girls. They're working hard. I said, okay, girls, time for dinner. And I would take them to a really nice restaurant. And then we go to a club and dance, right? And we would dance and dance and dance. And they loved it, you know? Because I wasn't hitting on them. I was being their friend. And I was like the good boss, right? Because I gave them all the authority. I gave them all the power. I gave them, I didn't tell them what to do and then yell at them for not doing what they thought they should be doing. But anyway, I said, girls, you know this better than me. I'm putting you in total authority. You tell me what to do, right? When we go in front of the rich people, that's a different story. I will act. I will go in there, and they love my dog. So I would go into the office with the dogs at 7 in the morning. We would work. When I went out to lunch with the boys and then lap dance until 8, I would keep the dogs with the girls, and the girls love the dogs. The dogs love the girls. So this was a good protocol, and I did it, from around 04-ish to 2014, 10 years, right? And I really hit my stride, started doing it a lot in 06 and 06, 07, 08, 09, 010. There were so many, lawsuits within the corporate scene of people screaming at each other and billions of dollars at stake. And boy, and I'd only, I would work 11 weeks of the year. That was it. And make a almost 6 figure. I kept under the 6 figure salary, right? Because I lived like a millionaire on $400. I mean, I was doing that then. Then I got a lot larger, bank thing, and I had, there was from 88 to 2004. That's when I was the itinerant scholar. Got into the contract, consultant guy rather than the university nonprofit entity guy, where I would work for Brookings and the CFR and Trial Law Commission and a whole bunch of nonprofits of that neck of the woods, and shows and things of that nature. So, and they still paid me well, and they paid me a nice later, dude. Jamie, what has Jamie been saying? Let's see. Let's go up here a little bit. Boop, 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 boop. Esoterico says that Canada is much better for health. What do you think of Santa Maria? You mean you're talking about the religion / cultural motif? Well, it's a Caribbean African view, just like I have a shamanic worldview. That's their worldview. You can look you down instead of taking you to a camp. Yeah. Lock you down, right, instead of taking you to camp. Yeah. Jamie, let's see. He said something. We'll go back and look at that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, later, dude. Okay, James. You stay well. Enjoy Ireland. Slanchka. It's a nice little hat for $1 from Dollar Tree. So, how long? 39 minutes, almost 40 minutes here. I'm getting a little hungry, so I'm gonna and I got some stone and I want to put it down on my soggy spots. We had a lot of rain yesterday and a lot of rain the day before. Today is beautiful, sunny, sky blue, getting a little nippy. I think winter's coming back. I think it's going to get. I mean, because since I got back, you know, when did I get back? February, almost February 1st. When I got back, February 1st ish, um, got really warm. Right? I mean, ridiculously warm. 60s and 70s every day, 40s, 50s at night. I didn't complain, but everything is popped out, especially the bushes. All the flowers are coming out. So if we get really super cold and snow and sleet and a freeze, ooh, not going to be good. Not going to be good for the farmers. Not going to be good because everything's kind of coming out. I don't care. And nature doesn't care either. But what I see happening, so that whole thing that freaking California has had more snow in all of history. And they had, up until New Year's, they had like 10 feet of snow, right? Which is a little bit above their normal. And they got another 6 inches, another 6 inches, another 6 inches. And then they had the water river come in and rain and rain and rain and snow and snow and snow. They have something like um, 600 inches over their big snow. So they have a snow, a historical large snowpack, and not just way up in the mountains, but in the mountains just above, L.A., San Francisco, where normally it never snows, and they got like 20 feet in a place where it never snows. So they're supposed to have a big. So they just had a big storm that cruised through, and then it went up into across Montana and into little tops of Texas and kept going and Minnesota and all that into Ohio Valley and then up into New York and then to Maine. And right now, right at this second, there is 1 million people without electricity. And there has been close to 2 million people in the United States, all over the place, not all the time, but all over the place without electricity since New Year's. And what does that mean? It means our grid is ancient. Mr. Because of Bill Clinton, who decontrolled everything, good old Mr. Ronald Reagan talked about it, and Bill Clinton actually did it. And Mr. Rothschild came in and bought out everything, bought out all the utilities, right? And he hasn't done a lick. He's just upped the rates like by 1 trillion%. He's made a ridiculous amount of money, and our grid and our infrastructure is still 1960s. And so, I mean, not an EMP, forget about it. We're toast. X flare, forget about it. We're toast. A large corona mass ejection, we're toast. And they're happening every day. We just kind of a few of them. We have whoops. We have there's so many things that have zipped by us, just missing us, and still having effect. Frying a few satellites here and a few there. Wait till one of those things hits the International Space Station. And that sucker's big. I mean, it's the size of a football field. And I sure wouldn't want it. Why it's so big is that they're up there and they're, crapping in this. And just think when you crap in your bed, right? And yeah, you can clean it up, but it still always smells. Space, ooh, they smell everyone's farts. So, going up there, you don't want to be there. You're floating around. All your organs are going, hey, this ain't normal. Anyway, that sucker gets hit by a flare or an energetic particle from a coronal mass ejection, or the electromagnetic flux, which is changing all the time on our planet, and not just by centimeters like it used to. It's now doing it by miles in less than a week or two. I mean, and they're having to upgrade your, Lexus. Where am I? And I'm sure she's going to get on the chat here and say, you're in an existential moment. We got a big storm last night, thunder and lightning with blizzard-like weather. Yeah, baby. And so what came across and up around, we just got missed. The people in front of us in Tennessee got tornadoes. People above us got tornadoes. People in Virginia got tornadoes. And now it's kind of going up and it's going to come around and it's going to come down the East Coast. It's going, I mean, it's a big storm. So first it going up New York and stuff from DC along the coast all the way up to Maine. So they're going to get, cold wind, kind of what you got, and a good chunk of snow, right? Then it's going to go up around Iceland, Newfoundland, and turn and pick up a ton of moisture because that neck of the woods right now is ridiculously warm. The sea is ridiculously warm and very active, and it's turning those little things in the sea are going nuts, right? And so it's going to get that, and it's going to come down the East Coast in about a week and a half, maybe sooner, maybe end of next week, as the biggest northeaster in history, and it's going to wipe out every wire in the air because it's going to first dump a lot of snow, then dump a lot of sleet, and then it'll have 2 days of ice storms and put like 4 inches of ice on limbs and wires, and it's all coming down in a way where all of the poles are going to snap, all the high voltage towers are going to collapse, and it's going to do that from Maine all along the coast, all the way down to Florida, and hit Florida from the East Coast over the West. And those guys who got the hurricane, it's going to be like as big, if not worse, than the hurricane that hit them this summer, and hit it on the east, and then do the whole friggin' state down to the Keys, and then go off into the Gulf of Mexico and die. Now, no one's, the only people who've said anything about it has been Diamond and Thor. And they haven't, they shown all the models, the spaghetti, everything. And I kind of went into my auric field. And so they said, oh, this is not going to be good. But I'm saying, ooh, there's at least 10 to 60% chance this will be something that it'll turn the East Coast of the United States into what Ukraine looks like now, but worse. So get ready for that one, gang. If you're even close to it. So there's only one person there, 40. So when it hits 50-50, I will, or 55-55, I will sing out of here. What it's a snowman last night. I can't hold English with eyes and cannabis stock. Keep up the good work, Dragon. Dr. Esoteric. And who else? What else is going on? Anyway, that's kind of it. Go see. So the interesting thing, there are a number of very interesting scholars. Again, the thing I would say to go check out is Dark Journalist. Go to his website, darkjournalist.com. The other interesting one is Democracy Now. And go look at it. And both those guys are on the YouTube. So go look at their YouTubes. And Dark Journalist has Dr. Joseph P. Farrell, who's written a ton of really good books. If you like David Icke, you'll love Joseph P. Farrell because David is great, right? And he is like plugged in, right? And he sees a lot of things, right? And he does a good deal of homework. But Dr. Joseph P. Farrell, he's a real scholar. So all the stuff that David puts together, Joseph P. Farrell gets the big picture and he enumerates everything in history and time and space and you name it, he's got it. So, and he's kind of funny. I mean, David is, I like David. I met him a number of times back in the 90s when he first coming out. And first time he came to New York, he went on a couple of radio shows, which he could have done from there. But in the 90s, there was, not the 90s, the 80s. When he first started, when he looked like a young guy, and I think I'm older than he is. And so he came and spoke to our little group, U.S. Psychotronic Society, right? And it was like 20 of us there, and we were all we were all scientists, basically. We were all engineers. We were all, playing with these toys. And he said, "Oh, the cabal has this." Well, we had the technology too because these guys were working for the cabal. And that TV show that they have where the people go to work and they don't remember who they are once they go past the parking lot. Once they go home, they don't remember what they're doing at work. All the guys I worked with were like that. And the people who employed them kept saying, "Al, you should join us. You'll." And I said, "No, no, no. I'm happy just doing this. I'm an artist. I'm an activist. I'm a this. I'm a that. I have my own businesses. No, 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 no. Thank you very much." Yeah, as long as, well, we like what you do with them here, but not a problem because I was like the facilitator, right? One of my best skills within that world was that I could get people to work well together, right? No matter how they were, because I could see their energies, and I can see your energies out there in YouTube land, and I can help um, balance them because whatever disease you have, whatever psychosis you have, whatever anything you have, I should be dead. I should have been dead in 2014, and then from 14 to like 17, 18, at any moment in that time, I had clamps on my legs, wheelchairs. I was not, always having to go to urgent care to get this, inflammation taken care of, that wound taken care of, all the rest. Because my skin is like tissue paper. If I bump into something, I mean, like, you know, but so I had a wound there I didn't even see. And all of these little dots all over me are wounds I've had in the last year. And I make herbal things, compounds. I plaster it on there, and it protects them. It heals them. But what it really does, it allows me to energetically, eh, um, get it together at that spot and in my body. I do it every morning. When Johnny Boy would wake me up, "Can I come in? Can I?" I'd be meditating, like levitating off the bed. I said, "No, John." Well, and he couldn't come in. I'd be naked, right? And I always have gigantic erection, and he would run out. Ah, and I mean, you'd think one time, okay, shouldn't bother Al, up until around 9 o'clock in the morning. He would come in there because he would wake up, God knows when he woke up, or if he even slept. And if you're not sleeping, or sleeping deeply, or sleeping well, because I can sleep well, I can get like a 10 hours worth of sleep in about 6, right? Because I go deep into it and I am consciously there. Like tonight, I consciously was in my dream state. And anyone who wants to read my novels, get a hold. If you have, Google Docs, I can easily send you a document, no problem. If you got, Microsoft or this or that, or any other platform, I can do it, but I have to like do this and do that. And I usually have to be with my guru, and he shows me, and he just see this is how you do it. And how'd you do that? What to escape, control, what? So anyway, if you got Google Docs, just get a hold of me. I need your email address. Get a hold of me at the dudewake42 at gmail, dudewake42 at gmail, and I will start sending you my novels. I've written 15. I'm in the process of there's X rated is the first 5. That's the first series. I'm going to have 3 series. They're all going to be interconnected. But the first one, right? So the first one, I start off with death because that's where we start. When we're born, we're coming from death. And then I have legend, right? Because that's kind of what we're built on as children. We're this legend. And then I have ear hair. And then I have, bad girl, really bad girl. And then I have legacy, what we're left with. So that's that series, right? So and they're interchangeable. We could read any one of them first, right? Or you could read them. They're all written so you could just hold the book and open it anywhere, and you'd be entertained. And if you want something linear, it's kind of, but just kind of linear, not really linear. Let's see how many minutes have gone by while we're having fun here. Oh, look at that. So 55 minutes. There's two of you there. It's one thumbs up. Come on. If between now and the next 40 seconds, we get a couple more people watching, I will continue blabbing away. What got a big storm last night? Okay. Made a snowman. Okay. So Jamie gave us a big heart, a big love. But he just jumped in and jumped out. Let's see. Okay, we can find it. So anyway, so it says message restricted. Is that retracted? Yeah, retracted, not restricted. I didn't retract it. He did. But anyway, I didn't read it fast enough. So what else is there? That's about it. I just wanted to touch base. I'll see you tomorrow then. I'm getting hungry. That's really the motivating factor of where I'm going to go. So, gosh, golly, tip my hat to Tipperary. And I go back. I'm back now to Born to Hunt. I'm here to hunt your love. So, when we get to 56:56, I'm out of here. Love you guys. All the best. Remember to breathe. Conscious intent I am. Conscious awareness I am. Right? Puts you in a state of understanding and doing your best. And that's what we have to do now. Okay? Bye. There it is.